Good evening, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here, and I just want to say thank you. Dancing is my voice for this event because this is something that we need to do more often within our community because unfortunately, when it comes to expressing the struggles of surviving a sexual assault, many times people don't understand. So thank you again for this platform. I do want to say that Miss Williams, she did an amazing job. I loved how she talked about a journey, because that's what we're on. We're all on a journey, and unfortunately sometimes in life, some of our journeys are a little more challenging because of some certain experiences. So my goal for today is to share with you guys my experience of experiencing sexual assault and what I did to work through my anxiety and anger. During my junior and senior year of high school, day after day after day, I was sexually molested by a classmate. Because of that sexual abuse, I became an angry person filled with anxiety. Naturally, I'm a fun and exciting person, but after that experience, this intense anger overcame my life and it didn't sit well with me. And I knew I had to do something to learn how to control it. First thing I did was embrace forgiveness, which is a challenge because somebody violated me and now I'm trying to forgive them. That doesn't even make sense. But by me being a Christian, I believe forgiveness is something that's important. And so I had to forgive my perpetrator. I had to forgive those who I thought was involved. I had to forgive God. I had to forgive myself. My perpetrator did an excellent job convincing me that it was my fault for the sexual assault. And I had to acknowledge that, you know what, it wasn't my fault. There's nothing I could have done. He's the one that chose to do something bad to me. It wasn't my fault. So I had to forgive myself. And if we aren't careful, we can turn anger inward and end up hurting ourselves. We can hurt ourselves through substance abuse, self-harm such as cutting, suicidal attempts, or even self-sabotage. So it's important that we learn how to take that anger and channel it outward in a healthy way. So one of the things I did was exercise, and I'm excited that we're going to be doing Zumba here in a little bit to help channel any stress or anxiety or anger that hopefully any of you guys might be feeling. You can express it that way. Whenever I was in college, the anger that I experienced, it was hard for me to get it out. And so sometimes what I would do, I would go to my parents' house and they live on a lot of land. They have woods in the back. And so what I would do, I would chop wood. Chop wood was how I would get my anger out. And just the expression of hitting something, and sometimes I would actually imagine it was my perpetrator. And that helped me channel that anger as well. Another thing that helped me was prayer. Sometimes prayer helped bring this calmness to me, and it helped remind me that everything was going to be okay. And some of you may not believe in God, and that's perfectly fine. So maybe meditation might be a good fit for you, or doing a quote. Sometimes certain quotes can help bring anger down. Another avenue that I used was art. I used to paint. Painting was something that helped me to express my anger. And I would also write. Now with writing, I took it a step further. After I wrote, I would do one of two things. I would either take that paper and rip it up, or I would go to my parents' house and I would dig a hole. Now I had to be careful where I dig the hole at, because my dad, he was very meticulous about his grass. He keeps really good grass, so I couldn't just dig a hole in his yard. I had to go find an area where there was dirt, and I would dig a hole, and I would put that paper that I wrote all my anger about, I would put it in the hole, and then I would burn that paper. And there was something therapeutic about seeing that paper burning, and then I would bury it. And whenever I did that, it was as if I was releasing my anger. I was letting go of what happened. And this peace and calmness would come over me, and for a moment, my mind would be at rest. When you're battling something internally and you're able to express or experience a moment of your mind being at rest, that can mean a lot. I didn't want anyone to find it, so that was another reason why I ripped it up, or I also burned it and buried it. And the last thing I'll share with you guys today is my experience with anxiety. How many of you guys experience anxiety from time to time? Yeah, it's something that can be so burning. It can stop us literally in our tracks. So for myself, I went to a church that people hugged each other. And when a guy would approach me to hug me, I would take a step back and say, no, it's okay, you can shake my hand. I don't know you well enough to hug you. And it took me time to acknowledge that not all men are bad. Unfortunately, I had an interaction with a guy that made bad decisions. But that doesn't mean every guy makes bad decisions. And it was a process for me. So I would sit, and if I could, I would always sit next to a female. But sometimes you can't help it. You may sit next to a guy. And when I sat next to a guy, I would always pay more attention to him than the person that was speaking. Because I want to make sure the guy didn't touch me. I want to make sure he didn't get too close. And if a guy did get too close, I would be filled with so much anxiety. I couldn't handle it. So I would get up and I would leave and I would run to the bathroom. And I would just start crying and shaking because my anxiety was so overwhelming. And so I had to figure out how to calm myself down. And one of the things I would do some deep breathing, and I would pray, and I ask God, please help me, God. Please help me with this anxiety. I would calm myself down, and I would go back out to where I was sitting, and I would be able to sit the rest of service. But again, it was a process. It didn't happen overnight. And I want to encourage you guys who may experience anxiety that it really truly is a process, and you have to be intentional with everything you do when overcoming anxiety. Many times we have to remember to choose something small and work at overcoming that, and then choose something a little bit bigger, then a little bit bigger, then a little bit bigger. So I'll give you one more example. Whenever I had experienced that, going to public places was something that was a challenge. Me going to the mall was out of the question because there were so many people, and I couldn't keep an eye on all these people, and I didn't know if they were going to try to harm me. So I would go to certain grocery stores intentionally at night because there's hardly anyone at the store at night, and so I felt safer. And as time went on, I had to learn to go to the store during the daytime when there were more people around. And sometimes I had to go back to my car and relax and remind myself that I'm not 16 anymore. I'm not in high school. I'm older, and I know how to protect myself. So once I did that, I relaxed, and I was able to go back into the store and do the shopping that I needed to do. And again, it didn't happen overnight. It truly was a process. And the last thing I want to remind you guys is that kind of what Miss Williams had mentioned was it truly is a journey. It's a journey about us doing the best that we can. So that means us going to the store for 5 minutes and then having to go back to the car and then go back in the store and going back and forth, then that's okay. It is perfectly fine because you're doing the best that you can. If that means being a little hesitant to interact with a guy because you're not ready, that is perfectly fine. Because when the time is right, you'll be ready. And I would just want to thank you guys so much for coming out today. I'm excited to do some Zumba with you guys here in a little bit. And if any of you guys want to talk, just let me know. I'm a mental health therapist, so I definitely understand the struggles, not only personally, but on a mental health level. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Lisa.